And we're back. Now with... Oh, I guess... Other side? I don't know. I might have switched sides. But hey, we're here with Nick now. The wonderful and amazing and all the other things. Nick. How are you doing? I haven't talked to you in like an hour.
Yeah, I'm good.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Recovering from the last couple weeks. Last couple sessions.
Oh, I think they've been good sessions.
Mm-hmm. We've been a little intense though in some ways. Or the week before last than specifically last week. But last week was there was a lot of stuff that got like dumped on y'all for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just roll with it.
All right, well then let's roll into the questions just because, you know, we can. This very first one is from Will Miss Fodder to both of us. What was going through your mind when Danono died? Were you worried that he wouldn't be revived?
Should I go first?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I knew there was a chance that we could ask back at the village, but I was also like, yeah, I definitely thought that there was a chance he wouldn't come back, and like to me, I haven't had that happen before. I hadn't even like I don't know if I've had a player character go full dead and even need revivify or anything. Um,
Oh.
yeah, I don't think so. So, it was a new thing, but I think I was just kind of thinking, well, I like in my head there were two things that I was like, uh, I would have been disappointed not to see what his story was about. Just like I am curious about that and it is interesting and I want to know more about it.
Right.
And I also would have been sad uh, to have wasted Lizzie's time on the art.
Yeah.
But I was, genuinely like, well, it's part of the game, and this is something that I said to I think the rest of the uh, players afterwards. But just like if it, a great part of D&D is you kind of get invested in your characters and you want them to succeed and do well, and that helps make things a little more high stakes that like well you really are going to try not to die because you want to continue that story. But if there isn't a real chance of death, then as much as you're invested in seeing that character survive, you don't it's not high stakes anymore because they're never going to die, it's fine. And so in a way it was kind of like I think that at times you have to take a hit, like for not exactly for the team, but like to keep the game real and yeah, exciting in that way. Because yeah, I do think it'd be pretty boring if it was just always we really don't have to worry. Like it's interesting story, but not necessarily interesting gameplay.
Gotcha.
It is a role-playing game. It's both.
I personally, when he went down and it became clear that he was going to, like, there was almost no chance he was going to actually live through it, I felt so bad. So the first campaign that I ever ran, we had 7 players. There were a lot of people, and I had so many times where a fight or an encounter that I would make would be steamrolled in less than a round, and no one would even get hurt. What would often happen is I would make the mistake of having one bad guy versus 7 good guys, and the barbarian would grapple him and knock him to the ground and hold him there while everyone just stomped on them and they died. That happened multiple times. And so I got into a habit of upping the difficulty a lot. And I have, since we've come into this campaign where there's only like 4 or 5 players and it is a little bit more balanced in the action economy, the difficulty has been catching up with us a little bit. So I immediately was like, oh no, I've gone too far. Oh no, I didn't balance it correctly. I was feeling really bad. And I do think I actually did miscalculate, because if I had really pushed as hard as I could, there's no way that anyone would be alive. I think maybe someone could escape, but it was really gonna be a rough time. And not that I went easy or anything, but I didn't necessarily use all the tools in the toolbox at that point. I was really glad that you were in Wiftamar near someone who could actually resurrect him. So, because that's not something that you've been around previously. Like, if that happened in Oziko, it would be a little bit harder, a little bit less likely for that to happen. There's not a whole bunch of clerics with resurrection magic just wandering around in Idrion. So it was, if it was going to happen anywhere, that was a good place for it to happen.
Yeah. But, there should be a deadly encounter every now and then, right? Like,
yeah, I guess.
You can't just all be flowers and feathers.
Yeah, I just don't want anybody to die because I love everybody so much.
Yeah.
And especially with everything that Danono's doing, I don't want to cut that short because it's important stuff. It's small fry stuff.
Yeah.
Move on from that question too. Another from Lomas Fodder. Does Danono think the creatures plaguing his home are related to what attacked Store?
Well, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Store might feel, and out of game, we talk about this kind of stuff. So Liam said that while he doesn't necessarily think this in terms of what we as characters are guessing about the game, he knows that Store would feel personally responsible for what happened there. Danono does not. Danono very, very much feels like this is a thing, this is some force, some group, whatever, that does not like the winners of the Divine War. So yeah, like there's got to be something going on there. And they're the same kind of creature. They both attacked people who were and so they attacked and killed Trinexa, who knew Melora personally. And yeah, they hurt Store and were probably trying to kill him, but one thing that struck me, Nick, is that in game the sword, Store's sword, Garabi or whatever, Andrada Andrada said that she felt pain of a sort, and she knows Cord, right? So it's a part of me, Nick, feels like they weren't really going after Store, they were going after Andrada and wanting to destroy what Cord made there.
Interesting. Good enough. This one is from Aaron. If Thorak's deal with Torm during the resurrection had worked, did you have any ideas of hypothesis on how it would play out in the future?
From Aaron?
Yes, this is from Aaron
Sorry.
to you.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard for Aaron, and I was like,
Sorry,
well,
yeah.
that's an interesting question. Do you have an answer from Aaron?
No.
Yeah, so it being from Aaron, yeah, I guess I was definitely seeing there being further, complications with Torm, like uh, that Thorak would, um, eventually, and he still is probably eventually going to need to make a choice in a way. Um, but that I think would have forced his hand more and would have kind of, I think, defined Thorak in a new way. Like, in that at some point, I think Thorak is going to have to choose to be good or evil, really. Like, eventually he's not going to be able to justify it anymore with "my God asked me to." And he's going to have to either choose his God, who is genuinely like, that is the definition of evil in D&D, is when you do things for selfish reasons. Torm is tired of being torn apart by his worshippers, which, valid, but let's go kill everybody because they're making me feel bad. That's the D&D definition of evil. So, I do think that at some point Thorak's going to have to make that choice, and this, I think, would have just intensified that to where he would really have to choose, like, am I going to kill Danono? And, right. Yeah, so, Aaron, I still think you're not off the hook.
No way, no way.
But, yeah, I think that definitely would have, like, kind of made it more of a sticking point where you would have had to decide, very much, like.
I feel like there's a decent chance that it would have been a not so good choice that he would make. Very possible. We'll see how long that continues to be the case, but it would definitely not be like a clear-cut decision, I think.
Yeah, no, and I think it would be interesting, just interesting. Obviously, whether he succeeded or not, the attempt would probably mean he leaves the party. But
yeah, well, that's true. There is actually a question here from Lil Misfodder to Aaron. What did you think of Nick's introductory performance as Thorak? And Aaron did actually answer this. He sent me, I loved not only Nick's, but everyone's performances as Thorak. It's interesting to see each person's insight on him for sure, not only to learn how they view him, but also to help me shape and mold my own viewpoint on the character. Specifically to answer about Nick, I was 100% into everything he did as Thorak. I told him after the stream as well, during the Danono resurrection scene, the plan I thought of in my head while watching was incredibly similar to what Nick did. So all in all, I loved it. Have the Aaron stamp of approval there.
Yeah, and as I said to him, I'll say publicly, I thank him for that. It feels nice to hear that. Yeah, I think that it's fun. He's not my character, and Aaron definitely does him more justice. But
I think he's probably more similar to Thorak than you are.
Maybe. I can't think of very many differences between me and Thorak.
Yeah.
I am short and
grumpy alcoholic. Oh boy. Cool. We're gonna move from that episode to answers without questions. Danono made a deal with Marguerite that entails a future favor, but he objected to Yanni making a similar deal for magic. Why is that?
Well, the deal that we made was very specific. Like we know what the favor is.
Hmm.
There's this person, we're gonna bring her to her mother. And it ends there, you know? And what we are getting is a specific thing. Whereas a general arrangement of like continuing to ask for favors while continuing to gain magic, and like the thing that we got from her, the knowledge about the tablets and specifically the connection to the astral sea. I mean, Danono, rather, the whole party is not very intelligent. I think it would have taken us a very long time to get that information from our own intellect.
Yeah.
Um, and so it was something that was less attainable for us for something that was more concrete. Whereas in Yanni's case, like she, like, we saw it later in the episode. She can learn. She can learn fast. She doesn't need some hag stealing her abilities for magic that she could have gotten on her own, you know? And it's not even necessarily like, oh, this is a dangerous thing or you could be made to do evil things. It's just like this is gonna tie you down and it's a waste of your time. But add on top of that, this lady kind of sketch,
What do you mean? She's so
And,
nice.
and after Danono already feels personally responsible for getting her killed once, he does he doesn't want to guide her to making more trouble for herself.
Does he feel like guilty or responsible about what she has gone through in the last few days?
Yeah, yeah. He it was kind of against his better judgment that he made a remark um, about his exciting adventures. It was childish. It was a you always have these good things to say. Well, I finally have something, and I'm gonna give it to you. And that uh, in the moment can feel good, but thinking back on it, even before uh, she ran in and got killed, was kind of like, I shouldn't have said that. Um, and he very much, I mean, she even said, again in the episode, she said that hearing about what he had done drove her to want to join them. So like he was already thinking that before she said it, and then she said it, and it's just like, yeah, this is my fault.
Yeah, and so the way to fix it is to take her with you on more dangerous adventures.
Well, she is like we yeah, we're in danger a little bit right now, but if she can get to a place of safety and learning, like she can really come into a position that she likes. You don't have to use magic to go fight things. You can be a magic caster and just help in other ways around the kingdom. Like there's so many different things that you could do. She has the capability for that, and it's just we hope and feel fairly confident that we can protect her on her way to a safe place. And then in that safe place, with more opportunity, she can have a life more similar to what she wants than she was going to have back in Withamar.
Guess that makes sense. Just very not very close to civilization, and you're not heading in the right direction for the closest ones that are
Yeah.
worthwhile to her.
Then again, on the flip side, we just saw crazy shadow beasts at the temple where they worship, and another shadow come in and kill the chieftainess. So, was she safe there? Is anyone in that village safe right now? I don't know. I hope so. They killed the chieftainess, so maybe they're cool. Like, that's all we wanted to do. You guys can stay. I don't know.
Maybe you'll hear back in a few days of like, everyone's dead but me.
Yeah.
See. This is a question from Aaron to me. Were there any deals or ideas you had hoped we'd try with the hag that we didn't? Or was there anything that we did that completely surprised you? So, definitely, Marguerite went into it wanting to get a look at the tablets and get as much information about that as she could. And she was willing to give a little bit of information back of what she knew. And like the stuff about Lillian and Dulce as well was something I very much expected to actually work out. I was very surprised at how everyone totally jumped in and was like, I'm gonna make a deal with this person. I totally am into it. I thought it was going to be a bit of a difficult thing to get any of you to agree to anything. But the fact that everyone was like, yeah, I'll make a deal for this, I'll make a deal for that, was a bit surprising to me. It's not usually out of the kindness of their heart that a DM introduces a deal maker into a game. There's strings attached usually. So that's not something that I would want to touch with a 10-foot pole. I was very surprised that everyone else is into it. I am very interested to see what happens with Thorak and the deal that he makes, because it is so unspecific and wasn't something that I was expecting to happen. We shall see how that works out. Gonna add extra wrinkles and rumples into it for sure. When I read this earlier, I was thinking, well, I don't remember anymore, so I'll just move on to question. This one is back for you, Nick. Is Danono worried about what will happen once he unlocks all of the tablets? Does he have any ideas on what it could be? Is he comfortable completing the task without knowing the outcome?
Yeah. Danono has no clue. Danono does not know what's going on. I have no clue. I don't know what's going on. But I think for Danono, this is literally sacred for him, This is their village, this is their people, this is their heritage. He went to the temple to perform his ritual, and this is what he received. That is his sacred responsibility to fulfill. And now that we've seen that the temple was kind of a little bit there for a little while, there's a possibility that this isn't the case. But for Danono, this was Melora. Like, she didn't physically do this in the temple, but in his mind, Melora handed him 5 tablets and said, go figure it out. So she's not going to tell him to do something that he shouldn't be doing.
So how did it feel learning that they are not divine in any way?
Not divinely created. Yeah. It was surprising. And I don't know if Danono has really processed that. I think when he does, it'll be kind of like just because they aren't doesn't mean she isn't using them for a divine purpose, right? Like, I know there's probably a decent amount of arcane stuff that the gods use anyway. But yeah, it is a little bit like, oh, surprising.
So he's not worried at all about what will happen once he figures it out.
No. I guess thinking about it more now as a player, this is something that Danono wouldn't have put together, not for a while yet, but as a player, I'm thinking about, gods do have their limitations, and especially if this is something to do with the astral sea, that might not be something exactly within Melora's wheelhouse. And so these arcane related tablets could let Danono do something that Melora genuinely couldn't accomplish on her own. Um, but yeah, Danono does not have those thoughts.
Sense. Oh, I love asking these questions so that I can get an idea of where all the players are, so I can know if I'm being too obvious or not obvious enough, because I want everyone to kind of get what's going on. All right, so this is the final question from me to you. In the past 2 episodes, the party has learned a lot of odd information, from the Temple of Weefdamar being filled with darkness to Danono's tablets being linked to the astral plane. Are you able to make sense of any of it? How long do you expect for answers to come?
I mean, I have theories, but there's nothing that I feel confident about. Um, I So the Divine War was originally kind of the good gods versus Asmodeus, and maybe
No.
a couple other evil gods.
No, so it was primarily, originally, a handful of evil gods showed up and were like, this is our world now, and they started being really awful, and then some good gods showed up to be like, okay, how about go away? And it was a
Right.
whole thing.
Yeah, but the evil gods were mostly they weren't demonic.
Not originally. Let me pull up the specifics of this. It was originally a handful of them. There's some of them that are demonic for sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
It was
either
eventually the people in
Asmodeus turned.
Ozamor. Well, the people in Ozamor were like, "Oh my gosh, we need help." And so they called on the good gods who showed up, but there were some of them who were like, "We need more," and so they summoned Tharizdun to like just blast everything, and ended up being too much. And so, let me see here. Another group released Asmodeus, Lord of the Nine Hells, and they turned on each other. And eventually, Arathis was able to convince Asmodeus to stop only attacking Tharizdun, but to like coordinate with everyone and help to do that. So he did kind of, because it wasn't that he was fighting against the good gods, he was specifically focused on the demonic forces of Tharizdun.
Mm-hmm.
And he listened to reason a little bit.
Yeah. But yeah, so I guess my point is that these demonic losers are feeling like it's their time to return. And um, and so these shadows, whatever they are coming from that kind of a source. And there was that was it an inscription we read somewhere on, was it, yeah, on the arch, was that inscription that the war that wasn't won, the waking and all that, like, to me that is the demons coming to rejoin the fight, basically. Because in their minds, and I mean, 1 millennium, it's nothing in terms of these planar wars, right?
True. Do you have any guesses or thoughts about like the dreams that Renexa had? Like the people and places and stuff that she saw?
I haven't thought about it too much. I my immediate thought now is like maybe each of these people are in their way connected to one of the gods of the Divine War, like somebody's representing Erasmus and somebody that we're going to help is a follower of Asmodeus or something, like uh, that kind of thing. There being only 5 if we're counting the place we're going to right now. No, Thor, third,
Confaldir.
Convaldir. This is why we have notes.
Maybe it's a good idea to bring those to Rehash sometimes.
But yeah, so I don't know how many gods were considered to be directly involved or chief among the Divine War. Um, and I guess you could also say that we've already got 3 represented in our group with Melora, Cord, and whether he wants to be remembered for it or not, Torm was part of the Divine War, so...
How long do you expect it to take before you start getting answers?
I think that if the person we are intended to help in Confaldir is indeed connected to all of the dreams that Trinexa was having, then when we help that person, we will start getting more concrete answers.
Gotcha. Sounds like a plan. Well, I think
that is what I expect to happen.
You are not in charge here. You have no power here. I have all the power. That's not true. That's not true at all. Cool. Well, is there anything else that we need to talk about? Anything else that needs to get covered? I think that's it.
That's a question for chat, isn't it?
Or for you, if you have questions for me or anyone else, or things that you want to talk about.
So what's going on?
Well, it's actually... Actually, it is all Chalk's fault. He has done all of it. He is the BBEG. Well, Miss Fodder sent another question to Discord. Let's... really fast. Does Thorak know that Torm didn't accept his offer? Does the fact that Danono died fulfill Torm's requirements? Is that a loophole? This is something that I will probably need to think on a little bit first. So I don't have an answer to that right now. So we're gonna wrap up Rehash tonight. Come back on Monday for another really exciting and crazy episode with starting off with a hat. That's where we're starting off. We're gonna wrap up and then we're gonna paint a mini. I haven't painted a little mini in a while. We're gonna paint Jelania. She's got some of her painted already, but we're gonna finish her up tonight. We can hang out and chat and talk about other stuff. Thank you so much, Nick, for coming and talking.
Yeah. In 2 weeks, will we move to a new rehash schedule?
Yes, we are going to swap them over. So the half of Rehash the Rolls about performance check will be first, and that will start at 8:15 Eastern time, and then the half for Ready to Roll will be at 9, and it will go until it's done, basically. The thought being performance check starts at 8:15 on Mondays, so it should start at 8:15 on Wednesdays, and Ready to Roll starts at 9 on every other Wednesday as well. So people can just be used to coming at the same time for the show that they watch and, Makes things a little bit easier. We will see you around. Stick around for mini painting, and if you don't want to stick around for mini painting, come back on Friday for video games. Be more Dead by Daylight because, you know, I can't not. We'll see you in a little bit, you guys. Bye.
Bye.